It's time for Football Friday, Florida Georgia Week, right here. Coming up, Paul Finebaum.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
What if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good morning and welcome to Florida Georgia Weekend. We've been waiting for it and now we've got it. On a Football Friday, glad to be with you today this fine autumn day. Is it autumn? Yeah, I guess it is now, right? Officially. Doesn't feel like it. 80 degrees outside. Wonder if there'll be any wind coming off that St. Johns River on Saturday when we get to Jacksonville. Got a jammed program for you today. Paul Finebaum from the Paul Finebaum Show and SEC Nation, which will be on site in Jacksonville. I can never get it right. I think it's TIAA Stadium. It's the old Gator Bowl. Okay? Stuck in the 60s there. Paul Finebaum joins us on the program. Getting off a plane as we speak. Should be hooking up with him in a matter of moments. We'll get his take on the game and the outcome and maybe a few controversial items that have taken place this past week, particularly regarding officiating and maybe the use of the term world's largest outdoor cocktail party, which we've been talking about ad nauseum on this show. I apologize for those of you who may have been offended by it. It has nothing to do with drinking of alcohol in terms of consumption or promoting or endorsing. But that's for another time. And after this week, you won't have to hear it again for a while. Everybody excited about this. Coming up, we've got our wagers today. The Okada Quarterback Club guys I pick with every week. Danny, who's done pretty well, and Fred, who keeps the score, so always does well. He can pencil whip us if he has to. He'll give us his pick. And Joe Williams, my good friend from Colorado of the Joe Williams Show, who's a pretty darn good handicapper, will get his picks. We're going head-to-head. Last time I checked and did the math, I was somewhere about $100 ahead with a mythical bankroll. We're about $1,200 in that right now. Started with 1,000, so we're ahead there. And then the Iron Duke, France Beard, joins us on the program, and he will give us his take and his prediction as well. Meanwhile, let me remind you, this is the Buddy Martin Show Facebook Live edition. We're with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. And then we have the Football Friday Show on 11 o'clock a.m. on Facebook Live. And then sometimes, and we might be tomorrow, we pop up live from an event or after a Gator football game or whatever. And so look for us there too as well. I want to remind you also, this is a podcast. And I want to say one more time, got to find my little note here, to Elaine McKinstry. We dedicate this to her all week long. She's the 83-year-old lady who listens to the podcast. And thank you, and keep listening. Go to iTunes to find it, by the way. You can also, soon you'll be able to go to one place, get all these things. We're on all over the place here. We're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes Radio, et cetera, et cetera. So we do the podcast for those who can't get on Facebook, who don't have Facebook, and it's starting to get a groundswell, so we're glad of that. So don't forget, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, et cetera, for the Buddy Martin Show podcast. I want to welcome a new sponsor today. It's actually an old sponsor, Grinders for Men in Ocala. It's been around since 1962. Augie Griner, the late Augie Griner, was the one who started it, founded it, good friend of mine. Now operated and owned by David DeSantis. I'm going to tell you more about their clothing. I'll be going by there today to check out some of their materials, some of their shirts for the fall. And if you've never been to Grinders, well, if you're a young man or an older guy, they got it for all generations. I'll tell you all about that. Glad to have David and the team back on the program. By the way, they got a big meeting today at the Ocala Gator Tip-Off Club with Coach Mike White in Gainesville. The club gets to visit with him. So we'll tell you more about that. Good morning to Alex Jenkins, David Soderquist, Don Wilder, Paula Chanel. I don't think I've seen you on, Paula. Becky Smith Carlisle, Ramon Bernhardt, David Soderquist again, all over the place. Roger Burns, yeah, over there in the, at the hospital, spending this afternoon. Man, I'm glad you're okay, Roger. So, yeah. All right. So, thanks to Brian and Jake and all you folks online. I'll get back to you in a minute. Right now, I'm going to try to hook up with our friend Paul Finebaum, who should be getting off the plane about now, he said. And if it all goes well, we'll check with Paul. This is going to be one of those rare times when SEC Nation and ESPN Game Day, they're at the same time. And that rarely happens. It's going to be a big day in Jacksonville, Florida, for what we call the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. But our guest doesn't have to do that. That's okay. We won't force his hand. Mr. Paul Finebaum joins the program. Good morning, Paul.
I think that's the name of the game, buddy.
It is. It is. I mean, look, hey.
What are they going to do? They're going to suspend me for a half or something?
Exactly. Listen, kudos to you yesterday for working it in. All right, on the slide.
Well, I just think it's stupid when everyone in the world identifies with the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and I mean, we can act like people don't drink at football games. I mean, let's be real.
Really. Oh man. We could get into that for a long time. I'll just leave it at this. I quit calling it that for a long time. I thought, well, why? I'm not a huge drinker. I don't endorse alcohol, but I love a good party, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, and to me, that's what the moniker represents, buddy. It represents two fan bases coming together at a neutral site, having a great time. Versus, I mean, what is it called? The I don't even know, the River City Showdown. I mean,
River City, yeah. One of those terrible monikers. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Well, yeah, I mean, so we'll let that go for now, but I've just embraced this culture because, Paul, you grew up in the South. I grew up in the South. You know, the social part of football is really a big part of this, and you asked me on your show earlier this week, I probably owe you an apology, by the way, about what makes it so big, and, you know, it's Dog Nation up and down the first coast and the south coast of Georgia, and if you've never been to Jacksonville, I have friends who lived in Ponte Vedra. I've gone up and down Ponte Vedra Boulevard to a dozen parties, and half of them were Bulldog parties. And I'm not a big tailgater, but they all mix and mingle. They have their own, but it's really a great weekend. Sometimes 2 weeks for Bulldog fans. They stay a couple of weeks, so they enjoy coming down this way. Well, enough of that. Let's talk about your show. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be there in parking lot P tomorrow morning when you and the team roll out there. First, are you there with close to game day? Where's game day?
I don't know. I'm supposed to be on game day, so I'll find out at 9 o'clock in the morning. But it is. It's not that far from where we are, but, buddy, I do not know
yet. No. You just go where they tell you. You get a shuttle and they take you and you go.
It won't be hard. I promise you, having spent a year on game day, it will not be difficult to find.
Yeah, sure it won't. Well, we'll be, oddly enough, our parking lot passes right there in P, so we're going to have to go at 5 o'clock to get there in time. But anyway, we had your teammate Laura on yesterday, had a nice chat with her. We visited a little bit. She said the words, world's largest outdoor cocktail party, will not be coming out of her mouth. She says she likes your job. And we talked about.
She's a little more. I mean, listen, she follows the rules more than me. I mean, I don't have much of a career left to blow. She does.
Paul, if you ever start following the rules, I'm going to be disappointed in you, okay? I mean, you can't follow stinking rules. You don't know how.
No. Well, you know, Laura will, because there's a reason why she's the host of that show, and I'm just I'm a bit player.
Yeah, right. You're a bit player. It's been quite an interesting couple of weeks for you. We don't have to get into the Carville call, but I do want to get into a little bit a subject that is almost taboo, because I don't want to get into all the network politics, but let me just express my concern, and then you tell me if I'm wrong. You were taught in civics in high school that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Centralized power, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, what libertarian, it does. We know history has taught us that, and you have to be careful about that. And I'm not saying that we're here yet, but the story I heard in the recent days, which I believe, was that the Devin White call, and you went through all this, the James Carville and stuff, which was originally called targeting, and then I'm told from a very good source I trust that the call was going to be overturned, and they were told by the people in Birmingham. Now I'm just telling you what they said, that no, stay with it, leave it at targeting. And if that's
buddy, listen, I heard that's interesting, but and I think you probably heard Steve Shaw previous week talk about the collaborative replay.
Yes.
I'd like to know more about that, because I have not heard that, and I'm wondering why the replay operation, the command center, would overturn the replay booth.
That's the problem. Now, somebody may have their facts wrong, but the source is, I don't want to use the cliche unimpeachable, but pretty darn close to it, all right?
Listen, I believe you, but I just don't understand why they would do that, though. But again, I don't know, and I spent 5 days talking to angry LSU fans who are convinced that Nick Saban, in his spare time, makes every call that for every team. But I just, I'm a purist about very few things in the world, but I have always been a purist about officiating integrity, because I know these guys, and I know you do too, and they're like the two of us when it comes to being, wanting to be respected by our peers. That they work hard to get it right. They don't have the time, nor I think the Machiavellian mindset to start thinking sideways and peripherally. They're just looking at the call as it's made. Now, what happens when it gets up into the booth? I've been in those booths before. It's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. They're under the gun. Make a decision quickly, and and I've also been in Birmingham at the command center. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle on it, but listen, I'm going to defer to you. I don't have a source telling me otherwise.
Well, look, here's the thing, and we'll go on to the football game, because I don't want to get caught up in this. You talked about it all week long, and you don't have much time here, and I want to get your knowledge on the game, and that is this. If a person who is an official or a former official tells me this, I take credence with it. If it's some fan, sure, forget about it, all right? I mean, look, we know how fans are, and God bless them. But this is the thing that concerns me, and all I'm saying to you is, if you were my boss and I worked for you at the Birmingham News or Post Herald, and I came and told you this, you say, buddy, drop everything, go out and do some shoe leather work and find out what is this all about. Unfortunately, there are very few journalistic organizations who have the resources and time to do that, and so we sit there and wait for somebody to come up with it. But it is disconcerting, and it's something that I'm sure you'll be watching closely. All right, Paul.
I'll say this in conclusion. If you're right, more than anyone else in this universe that cares about this subject, I want to know, because I've spent 4 days going on 5 defending the integrity, and I don't care where I work, and you know how I feel about that. Yeah. I'd like to know what the truth is. Yeah.
So would I, and I certainly don't hope I've opened a can of worms for you. And I will go back to this source at some point and ask this person, who probably won't want to tell me now that I've come out public with it. But it was said to in a public place, so that's why I'm bringing it up. Anyway, all right, Paul, here we are. Here we are on Imagine. By the way, I got a new name for UCF. And let's change the name from the Knights to the Unicorns. I mean, it fits perfectly, right? Unicorns are made real, right? They're a fictional character who become real. My granddaughter's got unicorns. So UCF wants to be a unicorn. Great. Here's my concern. And security is one of those things. Tomorrow and this afternoon, you'll be out there too. Your show starts at 3:00 this afternoon in Jacksonville. Tomorrow, you'll be out there among the millions. And these people have made it known their nightmare. They're going to try to basically have a sit-in, what we used to call them back in the 60s, with their signs on UCF. You've been a critic, naturally, and many have. I'm a little fed up with it. It's getting tacky for me. But anyway, what's going to happen there? Are you concerned about security? And sign off one more time on UCF showing up to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party and making it about UCF.
Yeah, I'm not concerned, because we do have security, and frankly, I find UCF fans to be like gnats on your arm at a 4th of July picnic. I mean, you shoo them away, and you don't ever think about them again because they are irritating, but not seriously
not dangerous,
or they're not seriously endangering any of us because. The program just doesn't matter, buddy. I mean, they have a nice little program down there, and they can win 20 in a row or 50 in a row. I had Bianchi on this week, who tried to make an who tried to say that because they were undefeated last year, this year, that should help them. That doesn't mean anything. They still don't have a quality win that rivals anyone that we talk about on a general basis. My final thought on them: could they go to Baton Rouge and win a game? No. Could they go into the Swamp and win? No. Could they go to Georgia or Alabama or Auburn? No. I know they beat Auburn last year, but that was a quirky situation, and they beat them straight up. But frankly, if that game had mattered something to Auburn, I don't think it would have happened.
Yeah. All right, so much to UCF. Let's talk Florida Georgia in the remaining time, and tell me if I'm keeping you over because you've got another show to do. I know, but let's size it up. This is a real ball game, and some people think maybe the line might be out of kilter. Maybe it's a Pollyanna. It's people like myself who think Florida has a good chance of winning this game. In fact, may, and certainly 6.5 points would be a sweet thing to be sitting with if you were a gambling man, which I'm not. Size up this game now compared to where it was, and what you think is going to happen tomorrow.
Well, buddy, where it was a joke a year ago. You know that. I mean, we sat there on the set of our program, watching and seeing the denials of Jim McElwain's future when we all knew it was a fait accompli. I believe Georgia's going to win this game. Now, before anyone overreacts, I fully admit, because I'm transparent, I don't have a clue to why I believe that. Other than I started the season with a false narrative, or a narrative, I should say, that Georgia was going to be good, and I keep trying to will them into being very good. They have not been, which should concern anyone who should be adaptable. I still have a sneaking suspicion that Florida has done it, not so much with smoke and mirrors, but with brilliant coaching by Dan Mullen. And usually brilliant coaching can take you a long way. I don't know if it can take Florida far enough against what I think is a slightly superior team. Now, buddy, upsets happen every week. This would be an upset in my mind. Maybe it wouldn't be. I think Dan Mullen has done a much better job this year coaching, but I just have a sense that Georgia will correct some of the mistakes in this bye week and be a slightly different team. Now, having said all that, okay, and by the way, that would not pass. I would not get a good grade in 11th grade debate class because I didn't give you a solid argument. The thing that concerns me about Georgia is something's wrong there with Justin Fields. I'm getting a weird vibe about his lack of playing time. And buddy, you saw the decommitment yesterday from the running back.
Yes, 5-star, and that's about the 6-1, Paul.
I'm just dropping something in the water, maybe blowing up my own theory about this game, but there is a bad vibe coming from there that I don't know enough about right now. But I've watched a lot of college football off the air, as you have. So. You concerned me the other day when you picked Florida, and I like your reasoning. Maybe I'm just being stubborn, okay? But I'm still on the Georgia bandwagon. But let me assure you, I'm looking for an exit.
You'll have plenty of them there to go at. Well, hey, look, I mean, it's really kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. Gator fans, on the show last time we talked about this, and with Laura as well, is this kind of a overconfidence. That's weird, being an underdog. Now, come on. Yeah. I mean, Georgia, look, we'll sum it up with this and let you go. Georgia's got the pieces. They got more 4 and 5 stars, okay? But if you go down the list of everything from special teams to offensive line to running backs to wide receivers to defensive, Todd Grantham's defense and the D-line and the players they got and the way they're playing, I could make a case for Florida being a better quote-unquote team and with maybe a better coach, but we'll see. We can't say that yet because Kirby's a heck of a coach. But on game day, when you got to make those decisions, Mullen is playing chess, and they've all been playing checkers. Let's see how that works out. Now, I understand your reticence, but it feels to me like there's something transformative here.
Yeah, and listen, if I was sitting in your audience, I would not be impressed with my argument. But it's not solid, but it's maybe giving Kirby more credit than he deserves, or maybe the credit he's earned. I don't know, but you're right. Dan Mullen's done a much better job this year. Georgia has dealt very poorly with the expectations, and that has shown time and time again. But I will give them one. Sometimes you just say, okay, this is my last shot at backing this team, and that's okay. I'm not personally invited. This is not an emotional game to me. I still am. By the way, I'm still intrigued by the Florida-Georgia, Georgia-Florida, whatever it is, matchup, because I feel like I've lived on a different side of the universe, being in the West. Other than the 4 years at Tennessee, but when I was at Tennessee, it was not an East school. So this whole thing is still rather bizarre to me, and maybe I'm missing something, and I will be first in line to say I was wrong. And it was a leap of faith, and I'm sure my buddy Lance will tell me that Monday afternoon.
Well, that's the thing I was going to talk to you about, and that now that you brought it up, I'll just say this: I know Gator Nation King winces whenever Lance gets on the air, and there's a contention between you and him. He's a screamer, shouter. He's not representative of Gator fans that we like and care about. I know it's good show business, but my gosh, if I can find a sacrificial lamb for you to be their representative, like a pool reporter or someone to call in every now and then to say, hey, I'll set Lance a little bit, I think Gator fans would be much removed.
Oh, listen, we get a lot of great Florida calls. You know that. But I will say this, sometimes as a host of a show, you root against a team because of a caller, but as soon as I root against Florida because of Lance, I think about Daryl calling in Monday, so it's a wash.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's almost like you and Lance are locked horns, but people think, like one guy says on here, you hate Florida, Finebaum. You don't hate Florida. I know that. You've been a big fan of Dan's, and I know you well, and I know you don't hate Florida, but there's that old perception. They want to make something out of it. So Lance is causing you problems. Okay, that's what I'm telling you.
Because we were together an awful lot. And no one was a bigger Florida fan when
Of course.
Steve Spurrier was there.
Of course.
That was the team I cheered for them every game. I liked Ron Zook too, believe it or not. Urban,
I know.
That was no.
We'll talk about that sometime another day. But
Dan Mullen, I've been a fan of his since the day he arrived, and anyone who thinks I'm anti-Florida is just simply wrong.
Well, I've got a spot reserved for you, first class spot reserved to you on the Gator bandwagon Monday if the Gators beat Georgia. Okay.
Well, buddy, it will be hard to get on the Gator bandwagon Monday if they win this game.
You might be under it.
but I promise you, it won't be hard getting off the Georgia bandwagon.
Yeah, there's something going on there. We'll see what it is. It's going to be fascinating. I will wave to you from the crowd.
Story, though. I really have an uneasy feeling about what I'm seeing there from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's the kind of what's going on. Well, I will wave to you from the crowd and have a good show. It's going to be quite a day on the river, as they say.
Buddy, always a pleasure.
Paul, thanks so much, my friend.
You got it. See you soon.
All right. Paul Finebaum, always generous with his time. He doesn't hate Florida. I know you all think he does, but I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. So you heard what he says. He thinks something's going on with Georgia. He thinks something's going on with Georgia, and it ain't good. But, there's a lot of rumors, but this game's got to be played down the field. We still have to, it's going to have to be the scoreboard's going to decide it, all right? We're not going to decide it right here on this program today, whatever, but it is a good day. It's a fun day, and I want to tell you about a couple of my friends and people that I care about. And here's one of them.
No one ever plans a car accident. Having a plan after you've been in one, however, can make a world of difference. Daniel L. Hightower has been fighting for accident victim justice in Ocala and statewide since 1976. After meeting with Dan and his team, you'll know your case matters, that you matter, and that Dan will fight hard to get you just results. If you've been severely injured through no fault of your own by a careless or reckless driver, you need Daniel L. Hightower. No one ever plans a car accident.
I care a lot about, and that's the people over at this company, Renstar Medical Research. Good people, Gator fans, turns out. The wife of Scott Brantley is one of the owners, just coincidentally. They've been my client for a long time and were before Mary was married to Scott. And Joe Sorrentino, one of the really, truly great guys in our community. His son Joey played for the Gators. But aside from all that, they do these things, like the Ocala Quarterback Club Scott Brantley Trophy, which is going to be awarded next spring to some fortunate kid from a 6-county area who will be representing our area for his academics, his scholarship, his athletic ability, football playing ability, his leadership, his citizenship, and he'll be celebrated with the first Scott Brantley Trophy. These are young men who are being recognized for game-by-game performances. We will see where this winds up going with the weekly winners, but our team is on it and they're working. Meanwhile, Renstar is on this with a proven reputation as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. They bring cutting-edge clinical research to Ocala in areas of Alzheimer's disease, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect our community. They've been around for a long time. Since 1998, they've done over 600 and closer to 700 clinical trials. Their information, they partner up with the pharmaceutical and biomedical companies, and their data goes there. And these studies are closely monitored and also regulated by the FDA. Safety is a priority. So if you want to be in one of these clinical trials, you can call Ocala 352-629-5800. Ask about it. You can go online at www.renstar.net and let them know you're interested. And check out the slogan they got there. I love this slogan. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers for the health questions of today. Okay, we're going to hit the road here and see if we can, say road being the highway, the road on the phone, and talk to our friend in Denver, Colorado, to me, who's a real student of college football, a guy who's I've been doing shows with a long time, and a guy who is fun to talk to, and he's been on the program with me. I would say over the years, Joe and I have done well over probably a couple hundred programs, all right? Today is Football Friday, and we're going to see what Joe's got for us. We have a little wagering contest going on with Mythical Money here, and we're going to wager some more and see how we come out picking a football. You got your games picked for the weekend? Well, hopefully you do. I've got my card in front of me. This is the one I've got.
Football Friday.
Is this the Football Friday office?
Yes, it is.
Okay, is Mr. Football Friday in, please?
Speaking, all present and accounted for.
Oh, Mr. Football Friday, how are you, Joe?
Pretty good, buddy. How are you doing today?
Well, it can't be bad. It's Florida-Georgia weekend. You know what that means. It's the world's largest. You finished the sentence.
Yeah, I was going to say, instead of happy bunch of Gators, it will be for at least the next 24 hours.
It's 48 or so, exactly. Well,
After
we'll see.
That, we don't know.
We don't know. No, but I'll get your leaning. I just had Paul Finebaum on. He's about to pull the trigger, but he can't quite do it yet. Gator fans keep accusing him of hating Florida, which he does not. That means if you don't pick their team, they don't like you. We're going to save yours till last and see how much you're going to bet on it. I have in my little hand here, Joe, 5 football games where we will bet a mythical amount of money on. You don't even know the games yet. And I don't know how we stand because I've lost the papers and stuff. We're somewhere around the same. We're around $1,200 a piece. About 200 to the good, I think, is what we're right.
Yeah, I think the key is we're still on the plus side.
We're on the plus side. I might be a nose ahead. You might be a nose ahead, but it's okay. We'll see. And this is not too many good games, but the best one's being playing right there in Jacksonville, Joe. But before we get there, any comments on what you've seen so far? And, of course, the Final Four picture looks like it could change, and it's already changed since Ohio State lost. How do you see it shaping up right now? And do you think –
I think the key now, buddy, is how many one-loss teams are there actually the other way, how many undefeated teams are there going to be when the smoke clears? And, obviously Clemson and Notre Dame are on the tip of everybody's tongue because they have not yet lost. And if they do lose, then it's going to be a lot of fun trying to pick out from about 10 one-loss teams who the committee would give the edge to. It'll be pretty clear-cut as long as Notre Dame and Clemson go undefeated. And Alabama, of course, if they do, which they'll be favored to do. And then you've only got one slot left. But if you let Clemson and Notre Dame lose, it's going to be like a free-for-all. And it'd be a lot of fun. And I'd like to see that.
I'm reluctant to bring this up because it kind of annoys me that some of these people are trying to get in on a party, be party crashers. Although I think they've called off their caravan, I heard today, that the people at UCF are trying to get in on the act. And look, I understand representing your team and being proud of it, and you should because they've had a great run. But this business about being, automatically, included in the playoffs just ain't going to happen. Number one, I think they should change their name to the Unicorns because that fits what the people think about. They're really not real, but they're trying to make them real. And the second thing is that do you see any scenario whatsoever by which UCF could wind up in the playoffs?
No, I do not, just because of their schedule, kind of what you're talking about. They're to be congratulated for beating whatever teams are put in front of them, but we've been down this road before with the Boise States of the world. And you just you can't. If you look ahead, like the committee's got to look, and you look at the teams that they play, and playing SMU one weekend and then Tulsa the next, and then every once in a while you throw a South Florida in there, who's pretty good, and maybe you beat a Pitt one time, a Pitt, not LSU or Mississippi State or Alabama or Georgia or Florida or any of those, a Pitt. That's just not going to get. That isn't going to work, and it shouldn't work. And Central Florida is a very good team. They were better last year than they are this year, I have a feeling. But even if they go undefeated, they're not going to. Let's just say, for instance, a one-loss Oklahoma. They're not going to leapfrog a one-loss Oklahoma team. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so now, having said all this, looking at the card and trying to figure out who is going to be there at the end. Because one of the great things about college football, it's not 100% predictable. We love the upsets, and they do happen. And, Joe, every November, things change. There's always going to be something that you didn't expect to happen. So you start counting your chickens, you get in trouble. So let's go to the card. I've got my Ocala Quarterback Club card in front of me, and I picked out 5 games. And you can wager whatever you'd like to on this, up to, whatever you got. You got plenty of money, so we're getting to the end. We're pretty close to even. Let's start out with one in your territory. Colorado versus Oregon State. Oregon State gets 24 points, Joe. Colorado's had a little slippage lately. Oregon State getting a little better. That's a bunch of points. How are you going to go?
Yeah, that's a lot of points, and I wouldn't really go, I'll bet $100 on that since that's the minimum, because I think the line is about right. I think Colorado will win from between 20 and 28 points. So
you're going to Colorado. Okay.
Huh?
You're going to Colorado there.
I'll go Colorado for a dollar.
Okay, all right, sir, $100. And I got 100 on Oregon State. That's how I played it.
Okay, you know what? And I wouldn't argue with you the other way.
Yeah, no, I just already picked my games in advance, so I wouldn't be influenced by you. Let's take.
Let's put it this way. I think you've got just as good a bet as I do.
No, I'm in love with it. They're not that many great games. Okay. But I want to get that one because it's local for you. Stanford, Washington, that conference you love to hate. Washington State. Washington State's a really interesting team. Fun to watch last week. Leach has got those guys playing some good football, and their defense is pretty good, which is unusual. Stanford has been a big disappointment to me, one of the biggest. I will never play them again, by the way. I'll give you a little preview. Washington State gets 3 points at Stanford.
Stanford's biggest problem this year, they've really not been able to establish a good, solid ground game. Usually they can run the ball and they can count on their ground game, and that kind of sets everything up. They run like a pro-style offense.
Right.
They're one of the few teams, Power 5 teams in college football, that don't go for that spread business. They line up and come at you like an NFL team, and they use the tight end, and that's kind of the way they play. But it all starts with their ground game, and they haven't been able to do that. Washington State is very interesting. I don't know how this Leach does it. I really don't know how he does it. He's done it everywhere he's been.
Yes.
He's been the architect of some really good offenses, including at Oklahoma when they won the national championship. And isn't he funny, buddy? He stands over there, and he's got that little bitty piece of paper he's got in his hand.
Yeah.
And he's always scribbling something on there.
Absent-minded professor.
I marvel at it. We've had him on the air a few times, and he's kind of funny to talk to.
Yeah.
But he never really gives you much, in terms of, because you want to say, how do you do this? How do you get players to go to Pullman, Washington? Well, he got them to go to Lubbock, Texas when he was at Texas Tech.
Did.
And Lubbock, Texas is like the far side of the moon. I ought to know. I used to live down there.
There you
in
go.
the country. So I don't know how he does it, but I'll take Washington State plus the points for 500.
500 play there. And Buddy's got 300, and he's got Washington State. Okay? All right, so we're going to move this along a little bit. Another team, Sal, skip this one. I'm not going to give you this game. There's 3 games. I know you want to pick Texas. So Oklahoma State gets 3.5 against your Longhorns. How do you want to play that?
I take 500 on Oklahoma State plus the points.
All right, Joe.
I smell an upset there. Sam Ehlinger, Texas's quarterback, has turned into a really good player. Not a great player, but for what Texas likes to do, they've got a pretty young football team. And Ehlinger lines up, and they did this against Oklahoma, buddy. It's like the old single wing. It's 3rd and 3. They're not going to throw it. He just takes off with it and runs over everybody.
Yeah.
And gets the first down.
Yeah.
Well, he jammed his shoulder against Baylor. Something happened. And he's not as healthy as you'd like. And otherwise, I would gladly take Texas. But they're going into Stillwater. It's a Saturday night game. 3.5 points is just enough for me to think, you know what, I'll take a shot with Oklahoma State for 500.
500. Okay, 500 Oklahoma State. 2 more real quick. One of them is, I think, we talked about on your show this week, you and I and Irv and Kent, about Missouri-Kentucky. The game's at Missouri. Kentucky gets 7 points?
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it tells me something is wrong. When the number looks that cockeyed and it looks so easy, you usually go the other way. And for that reason, I would stay. Do you remember another game with Kentucky? I said I thought the number was wrong, and it was South Carolina.
Yeah, you did.
Played some about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I said that number did not look right. And we should have piled all over Kentucky, which you did, and I didn't. But I thought the number was cockeyed.
Yeah.
And so I went to South Carolina. Well, this number looks cockeyed. Guess what? I'm taking Kentucky plus 7.
Yeah, what do you got? How much are you going for?
Twice.
How much?
I'm going to go 500 on them.
Joe, I'm going 1,000 on
Okay.
Kentucky. I'm going 1,000 there. I think that number's wrong. I'm not a gambler. If I was, I'd pile on that one. I got 30 seconds to pick the game of the week and the game of the year for the Florida Gators. Florida getting 6.5 points for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Is something wrong at Georgia? I don't know. What's going to happen there, and who do you like, and for how much?
I'm going with the Gators this week.
Ooh,
plus,
Joe.
Plus the 6.5 point. Yeah, I am. I didn't like what I saw, Georgia and LSU. And I think when you got a defense like the Gators and an offense that kind of is hit and miss like Georgia has, I'll take that 6.5 points. I'm not a big Gator fan offensive-wise, as we all know. I don't trust their offense. I don't trust that part of their team. But their defense is real good, and you can't give that kind of a defense 6.5 points. I think the Florida defense can make that stand up, at least the point spread. Maybe the Gators lose, but I like Florida plus the 6.5, and I will do that for 1,000.
$1,000. He likes him. Wow. All right. I'm not as bold as you. I took Florida for 500. So there you go. It's going to be interesting. Joe, thanks so much. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. We'll be there, and we'll see what turns out. But it could be a big, big weekend for Florida Gator fans coming up, Joe.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Joe Williams, the Hitman. Appreciate that. Speaking of the Hitman, I want to say Rebecca, my daughter, who's on screen, saying hello to the Hitman. Happy birthday to my granddaughter, Gracie Bell Simmons. She is 16 years old. I can't believe it. And a beautiful, beautiful young lady in every way. She is spectacular in her grades, in her character, in her looks, her demeanor. She is a beautiful young lady, and I'm so proud of her. It's a wonderful time. I wish I could be with you, baby. I love you. All right? So I got to do this now and see if I can get this before I call the Iron Duke, and we still got to do our quarterback club picks. I know some of you people are not huge fans of the picks, but hey, you know what? We grind all week. It's fun to have a little something different to do, so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to tell you also about don't forget, all Florida sports wear. T-shirts. Meanwhile, there's plenty of good stuff there. Gator fans aren't by themselves. You can go on there if you're other fans and find things. Tony does a terrific job. He and Ashley, they're our customers, our friends. He won't be this weekend tailgating. I will be in Jacksonville, but not on an official tailgate. But I will be there with my coordinating producer, Chad, because my real executive producer can't be there. My son, Brendan, he's out of town. But nonetheless, Chad and I will be there along with Danny Williams and maybe Darren. And we'll be there in Lot P for the event, and I'll be in the press box. So looking forward to that. I'll be wearing some of my gear for the it's one of those shirts from All Florida Sportswear. I still love the basic white, and some of you inquired about them. The basic white, stay loyal to the kingdom, as I wore one last night. I don't have any more of them. I think Brendan has some white with orange, but I want to eventually turn all that over to Tony. So Tony will be our shirt guy and do our stuff. So meanwhile, he's a good man. He's got a good product, and he's been taking good care of our G&K elites. If you haven't got yours, go to allfloridasportswear.com. Check it out. We'll have more information later. Probably something coming off of South Carolina. We'll let you know about that, okay? I'll tell you about that real quick. And then let me tell you about Center State Bank. This is my bank. You see two pictures up there. We like it so well. Center State Bank is much more than a bank. It's that and a lot more. I love the facility because it's so beautiful. The second floor art gallery. I love being able to go in there and it feels like a home almost. And you can check it out for yourself if you're in Ocala. There are plenty of others, by the way, around the state that you can also find. Go to centerstatebank.com, and there are 82 locations in 30 Florida counties for you to check them out and go see what they do and what they're about. And, I don't know if they all have chocolate chip cookies or not, but they got some great ones here in Ocala at that bank. And they also do things in the community, which is why we say Center State Bank centered on community and customer service. We've gone to our quarterback club meeting over there with Megan Mullen. Go by and see why they believe in their core values. They're locally market driven. They have a long-term horizon on their financials. They believe in relationship banking, and they have world-class service. Center State Bank, check them out. Go online again, centerstatebank.com. If you're in Ocala, call them at 352-368-6800. Many locations to serve you. Center State Bank, centered on community and customer service. Here on a Football Friday. Good to be with you. Okay, let's see if we can catch up with the Iron Duke. We've also got some more picks for you later in the program. By the way, feel free to glom on and make your picks. Today's the day. We won't give anything for it, but what do you think? 6.5 points. You like that bet? If you had $1 million that you had to play on this game, and again, I'm not a big gambler, and you had to play it, and think about it, not so just from your heart. Think about it. What would you do, and where would you do? What would you do with this? Would you spend it all here? Would you take the 6.5 and sit back? Some of you got 7.5 if you bet it earlier in the week. So anyway, that kind of stuff is going on, and it's a fascinating play. I still can't get over that Kentucky line. It's amazing. Wow, why is that line like that? That makes you suspicious, doesn't it? Like Joe said. While I'm waiting to get a hold of Franz, I'm running a little behind. Let me tell you about Grinders for Men. Grinders for Men is an institution here. It's more than just a tradition. It's an institution, and they've been dressing generations of people here for a long, long time. And my late friend Augie Griner was the one who started this, and he is the guy who set the tone for it. And they have dressed generations since then, and they have done a great job of keeping you up to date, but yet traditional. You know what I mean? You can look sharp and look up to date, and maybe you don't want to go with the absolute newest fads, but they've got plenty of things to show you how to dress. No matter your generations, they've got them there. I also want to say that David does a great job in the community. He is also working with the Ocala Gator Tip-Off Club, and the Ocala Gator Tip-Off Club. It starts its meetings today. They're actually meeting with Mike White up in Gainesville, going to practice. One of the things they do, and again, talk about community people. David DeSantis is heavily involved in that and does it. And so Grinders for Men is a place you kind of have to go there to understand what it's about. It's a men's shop. There's ladies next door, and I go there and I will buy shirts. Like I got to go and buy a shirt now, and I know that last time I was there, they didn't have anything for me. It just didn't look right, and I couldn't make it work. And so David said, "Look, I'll get some new stuff in the fall." And here's what it looks like, by the way. Some new stuff here coming soon, and I'll have something your size. Well, I mean, that's what you needed to know, right? So now today, I'm probably going to go by there, and I'm going to say, David, do I have anything yet? I'm going up to Jacksonville. I want to get something for the Florida-Georgia game. Can you help me out? And David will tell me, yeah, look over there, or no, I don't have those in yet, or this will look good on you. And I absolutely trust David. If he tells me, get this, this is what you need, try this on, this is what you need to do, I'll trust him. That's the thing you get there you don't get other places. So while we're talking about new fall lineups for the Gators, football and basketball, talk about your lineup for your clothing. Go to Grinders, located at 405 East Silver Springs Boulevard in Ocala. Go online. You can find them on Facebook. And email them at Grindersmen's, no apostrophe, at embark.com. And check out the fine clothing they have for you. They do a good job on fine clothing, okay? Grinders for Men. All right, let's see if we can still get the Iron Duke. He may have left me by now and said, you're late, buddy. Let's see if he's available to give us his pick, because the world is waiting for the Iron Duke, right? He is, he's everywhere. He was on this Monday, and let's see if we can raise him up now. Franz Baird. Been kind of a crazy football Friday with people talking. Paul Finebaum, Joe Williams, and I've not even got my other picks on yet, but you know what? I got the Iron Duke, who, by the way, if for some reason has turned sideways. I don't know why exactly, but this is what he looks like sideways right there.
I see you. I'm seeing you sideways.
It's because you got your computer turned sideways. That's why. You're coming across, so you have to set it back. Your camera's turned. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. Good job. Sorry about being late, but we had people who were talking long today. And we need you for the anchor here. We're going to hand you the baton that you take us home. Franz Beard, who, of course, writes Thoughts of the Day on Facebook, on our page, Gator Nation Kingdom page, Gator Nation Daily News, Gator Nation Buddy Martin Show. Francis, what a week, huh? What a crazy weekend. Now there's stuff going on at Georgia that people are kind of grousing about with all the decommits. What's happening?
Well, I think Georgia's been exposed. People are looking at this, and Dan, let's get real here. Kirby Smart benefited from great recruiting by Mark Richt. I mean, he had a ready-made defense that came in there. Lots of people who went on the NFL. He had two great running backs in Sony Michel and Nick Chubb. He had starters on his offensive line. He had everything in place there to make a great run. And this year he benefited from a lot of preseason hype and the fact that they didn't play anybody. As Lee Corso said today, Georgia's had one test and they flunked it. And that's the LSU game. Florida, in the meanwhile, Florida, under a first-year head coach, keeps making progress. Even in that Kentucky game, if you go back to that Kentucky game, progress was made in that game. It's hard to envision progress in a game that you lose, but the Gators actually made progress in that game. And I think that the taste of that defeat in their mouths has remained, and those guys don't want to revisit that. I think Florida's got everything going for it going into this game, and I think Georgia has lingering doubts because Georgia watched the film of that LSU game too, and they got to be smart enough to realize that if Coach O doesn't go conservative in the red zone, they lose that game by 40 points.
You make some good points. I think there's a consensus that something's going on. There's a slide. Now, we could be totally wrong, and Georgia could come out and wake up and suddenly kick in because they've got the players and the athletes. But the feeling has been in the last 72 hours that there's a wave, and even Finebaum said, he said, something's going on here. I sense something. He said, I'm not to a point where I'm ready to make the leap, but he said, he may be willing to jump on the bandwagon come Monday because he thinks Georgia's something going on there. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I said to him, you better jump on the bandwagon, you might get run over. So Florida fans almost overconfident, friends.
Well, I don't know if it's overconfidence as much as it is the most optimism we've seen in a Florida football team in quite a few years. You have to go back to 2012 when there was this much optimism, and even in 2012, the optimism was tempered by the fact that the offense really sucked. All they could do is they ran the ball and punted, and then played great defense. Mm-hmm. This team can actually run the ball, throw the ball. Here's the thing I love about this football team, buddy. You look at the fact that they almost always get 2 or 3 first downs. There are very, very few 3 and outs with this team. They get 2 or 3 first downs, and when you got a punter like Tommy Townsend, you can flip the field. And Florida is winning that field position battle. Florida is doing a great job of winning that field position battle. And I think that's going to be the key tomorrow. I think Florida will win the field position battle. Georgia's punting sucks. I think the Gators can stuff their run and do what LSU did. And you look at the LSU game. LSU always got 2 or 3 first downs, moved the football, flipped the field. Georgia was starting way back in its own territory the whole ball game, and LSU had played with a short field. And still, 475 yards in that game. Yeah,
that definitely. And here's the thing: is if LSU is really the deal, as some people think they are, if they're the second or third best team in the country, whatever, and I don't care if you believe in comparative scores or not, friends, it's right before your eyes, as you said. Look, Florida could run the ball on LSU, Georgia could not. Can we draw anything from that?
Yes, we can. We can draw on the fact that Florida's offensive line is really, really coming together. Georgia's offensive line has some injuries, and they're young and they're inexperienced. And quite frankly, we're discovering that Jake Fromm, for the many good qualities that he has, probably struggles more reading defenses than Felipe Franks. Felipe Franks has really, really improved in that area. And Jake Fromm was totally exposed in that ball game because
really,
oh gosh, yeah. I watched some stuff yesterday about how Fromm had so many misreads in that ball game.
Saw that piece. Yeah. Missed a lot of open receivers, and I saw that piece. Yeah, on ESPN.
Open receivers, didn't see blitzes coming, things like that, and that's not just somebody who's had a bad ball game. It really isn't, buddy. That's Alabama saw that and Alabama came back from trailing at the half and won that game last year in the second half by doing the same thing. They turned they made Jake Fromm very average, and Florida can do that, and that's what it takes. You've got to, in that offense. It's, what's the old term again? Cut the head off the snake. You cut the head off the snake, you make Jake Fromm average, and the offense bogs down and is very, very, very poor.
Yeah, and one of our astute listeners and one of our top guys in our organization, Len Tyndall, who knows his football, he says he thinks Chaney will be out as offensive coordinator next year, the way things are going. Because they're going to lose at least a game or two the rest of the way.
Well, as long as they beat Kentucky, I hate to be in the position. I hate to be in the position of pulling for.
Yeah, I know.
For Georgia. This is why.
Yeah.
I'm just praying that Missouri can spring the upset on Kentucky, so I can pull for Kentucky next week.
Yeah.
It just the thought of having to pull for Georgia in anything almost makes me, that almost makes me barf.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
I was there in 1968, buddy, and guess what? I'm like Steve Spurrier. I don't ever forget.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I was there too, by the way. I was not in the rain. I was in the press box, but it was.
Yeah, you were warm in the press box.
Yeah, it was
freezing my butt off.
Yeah, it was. There's been a lot of payback for that, and that in 1966, Georgia Keele still paying for beating Spurrier as a player. But nonetheless, we'll see how that. Steve is, of course, a different place now. Let me ask you a question. I got about. Well, whatever you want, however long you want, we can go. But I was just going to say, I want to focus in on play calling for a second. We talked about this all week. We may have touched on it a little bit on Monday when you were on. I've talked about this with probably about 10 people this week. And you know this. You said it just like I have. If it comes down to a chess game, I like the Florida coach, because he's playing chess while they're all playing checkers, I'd like to say. And so having said that, now the question is, what will Mullen come up with? Is he just going to come out there and go plain vanilla and say, we're running the ball coming right at you, and we're going to hit some quick pass, quick slants, and throw deep a few times? Or will Mullen come up with something at just the right moment to make the difference in the game? And I may be romanticizing this, beyond, but I got this play in my mind, and it probably will never come off, but I mention it because it represents the spirit of the chess master himself, to say this guy would do something like this. I'll give it to you again, and the listeners are saying, oh, no, not again, buddy, please. But I'm still going to, because one of the things I loved about Mullen's call with Lucas Krull and the left-handed pass was before they knew who Lucas Krull was, he was on the field and throwing a throwback pass to set up a touchdown. It was a brilliant call, okay? I've seen throwbacks before, but who knew he was left-handed, and who knew who he was for the first 20 seconds, So you take this situation. If you use the same thinking, and again, I qualify this by saying this is just an idea of surprise, there'll be something like this. Florida has the ball, 2nd and 8 on the 18-yard line of Georgia, needing a touchdown to win or whatever, and in the game comes, I don't even know his number, okay? I have to look it up. It's not a name that we've heard or a name that we have talked about, or he's actually forgotten because why? Because he hasn't played. And his name is Jacob Copeland. And he goes on the field. Next thing you know, you're running a flash sweep. This guy's got great speed. He's off running. He scored a touchdown until they say, who was that masked man, right? Now you say, why would you play Jacob Copeland? You don't want to burn a red shirt. Guess what, friends? You're not burning a red shirt. You can play him in 4 games. That's the kind of thinking that Mullen comes up with.
Well, we think back to the Mississippi State game.
By the way, excuse me, France, he's number 15 of all numbers. How can I not know that? Sorry.
Here's the thing that we tend to forget. The Mississippi State game. Kadarius Toney's in the ball game, and everybody forgets he was a high school quarterback, a very successful high school quarterback in the state of Alabama. And he takes a couple steps back, the ball becomes a lateral, the throw down to Morrill Stevens for the touchdown. Florida wins that ball game. This is the kind of thing that Dan Mullen does. Dan Mullen sets people up. He is constantly setting people up. And I don't know if you when we were with that other organization back in the late, like 2008, I did a series of articles with Mullen. I did a 3-part series on Mullen, making a game plan and coming up with a game plan. And one of the things I learned about him is it's like he has files in his brain. And he's doing something, and okay, I put this in this file. And this is the, as you say, the first and goal at the 18 file. And this is the third, this is the third and 1 from the 41-yard line file. But he categorizes things extraordinarily well. And he's got this uncanny ability to go to the right file at the right time and dial up the play that he has been setting up. Sometimes he's been setting up a play for 3 or 4 games in advance. Sometimes it's just 3 or 4 plays prior that he's done it. But he is constantly putting things into it, categorizing what's going on in that field, putting it in a file, and then dialing it up at just the exact moment that he needs it. I'm with you. I think that there will come a time in this ball game. I like to think it's going to come at a time when he makes that call and Florida makes that play, and it is like the crushing blow to the Poodles. I just have this really good feeling that Mullen has been setting up a play all year long that is designed to be the dagger in the heart, the demoralizer. And I get the feeling that he's going to have something like that in store. Just like if it's a close game, he'll have something, as you said, something that he can call on that's totally unexpected to win ball games. But I also believe that he's going to have that play that is a complete demoralizer.
Yeah. All right, France, you know what this is? That means it's time for your pick.
I like Florida to win this game, and I've said, I made the pick today that it was going to be 24-14.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really good chance that Florida can do to Georgia what LSU did. But I'm going to stick with a conservative pick, call it 24-14. I think it'll be a fairly close game, and then in the fourth quarter, Florida will dominate the fourth quarter, get a touchdown or a field goal that'll put it out of reach, and that'll be the end of it. And the good news is, when Florida does that, a lot of Georgia people will be heading to Hira to Stuckey's so they can drown out their sorrows with curly fries with cheese on
Be
them.
heading to the exits by the third quarter.
Oh, I love that. I remember the 2008 game all too well. I think there were 12 Georgia people in the stands, and not a single Florida fan had left the Gator Bowl. That was when Urban made the 2 timeouts in the last minute of the ball game, and I have fond memories of things like that.
Okay, Francis, here's my pick. Here's what I see happening. I see Georgia trying to run the ball the first half and not being successful. I think they get a touchdown. I think Florida gets 17 quick points on them with some ball plays and some good plays and passes by Franks, and also some terrific running by P. Ryan, and getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers like Trey Grimes, who, by the way, needs to get the ball, and Kadarius Toney, 2 guys that we haven't seen that much of. I think they get up by 17-7.5. Then I think Georgia comes battling back. Then Florida takes the ball and rams it down their throat in the fourth quarter, the way Georgia used to do it under Vince Dooley. And Florida wins the football game 30-24. How you like them apples?
Well, as long as Florida wins, I'll take it even if it's a 1 point.
30-24. I see that my phone's ringing. It's Dan Mullen calling me right now. He wants that trick play. He wants me to give it to him. I'll draw it up for him, put it on there. He'll come to you, Dan, right here. Don't forget, Copeland 15 sneaks in the game, and he gets the winning score, okay? I'll try. Francis, we got to go, buddy. Enjoy the game. We'll be up there, and we'll be thinking about you. We may be doing a show after the game, so stay loose, okay?
All right. Take care, buddy.
Franz Beard, the Iron Duke. There he is, folks, going out. Thank you very much. All right. We're going to do this because we promised we would, which is to get back to, we promised we would do the picks. We will do those in a moment. Let me just get, there you go. All right. So every week we do this. We have a quarterback club meeting. By the way, I'm very proud of the work being done there with the Scott Brantley Trophy. It's going to be something terrific that we're going to be really proud of. Some high school player is going to be honored in a big way come next spring. And this is going to be a tremendous celebration of football at the high school level, and also to honor Scott Brantley, who, by the way, last night was honored in Clearwater. And a big deal for him. There's something we're working on with the quarterback club right there. Football Friday should not be on there. But anyway, that's the territory of the 6 counties. We'll get into this more later. The Scott Brantley Trophy, there's a document about what it is. Quarterback club is raising money. It doesn't go to Scott, by the way. It goes back into the program. We hope to be able to offer scholarships to the schools of the finalists, but we don't know about that yet. We are in the process. We're gifted $1,500 on Wednesday night. Thank you very much to Jeff Ulmer, also to Matthew Wardell, and others who have stepped up to help fund this project for the Ocala Quarterback Club, the Scott Brantley Trophy. So we're extremely proud of that. You'll be hearing more about that later, and I just want to put that up there and say thanks to the Ocala Quarterback Club. The Ocala Quarterback Club guys, and we do this picking every week, and it's a fun thing. Danny Williams and myself and Fred Lant, we do our picks, and here's how it went the other night. All right, welcome back to the Ocala Quarterback Club meeting at the Ocala Elks Lodge. I'm Buddy Martin with the 2 geniuses here. To my left from Dunedin, Florida, weighing 125 pounds, 5'5". Danny Williams is back. He's feisty, ready to go. We'll hear from him in a minute. And the guru himself, Fred Lant, who is... he makes up these lines. He ought to win. He picks the games, makes the lines. But then that's just me. I'm just hanging on here for dear life. I'm Buddy Martin. We're going to pick games. And Fred, you have the selections.
Well, what I've got is our results also.
All right. Is that we're going to count last week?
We're counting all of them.
Okay.
Week 6, Buddy Martin went. That was the week before last because we had.
Well, I didn't go last week. Remember that?
I've got last week also.
Oh, okay. All right.
Week 6, Buddy went 3-2. Mm-hmm. Bet $100 a game out of his mythical bankroll and got up to $1,000 total.
Woohoo! What did I say last time? You
You're on the rise.
5 figures, I said.
You're on the rise.
All right, Danny went 2 and 3. He broke even on his 2 $500 games, and then was minus 300 plus 200 on the others, minus 200 plus 100 on the others, for minus $100, which dropped him down to $4,450. Only $3,450 ahead of you, buddy. And I went 3 and 2 at $250 a game to go up to $4,750. So after week 6. Buddy 1,000, Danny 4,450, and Fred 4,750. Week 7, Buddy went 4 and 1 at $100 a game, plus $300, and he's all the way up to $1,300.
And by the way, leading the pick.
At that rate, you might be back to half your bankroll.
Let's not obfuscate the fact that I have more wins than anybody. But go ahead. I have one more time. Go ahead.
Week 7,
okay.
Danny was 2 and 3.
2 and 3 every week.
Wow.
And Danny?
I'll give you the help this way.
Danny, I think you lost $500.
I believe I did.
There you go.
You went down.
Footsteps. Here they come.
Down to $3,950. I went 2 and 3, lost $200. Down to $4,550.
Okay.
So going into week 8, Buddy's at $1,300, Danny's at $3,950, and Fred's at $4,550.
Trending upward. Okay, let's get the picks on the table. I'm ready to pick some. Ready?
You going to pick first, buddy?
I would be delighted to. Ready to go. All right?
All right.
Okay.
Our first game is Vandy at Arkansas. Arkansas gets 1.5 points.
All right. I am taking Vandy and laying 1.5 for $100.
Second game is Utah at UCLA.
I'm laying the 10.5 points. I'm taking Utah. And by the way, that's for $100.
Florida at Georgia. It's actually in Jacksonville. Florida gets 6.5 points.
Yeah, I wish you'd have saved this one last because I'm putting $400 on that game. I'm taking the 6.5 points. Gators going outright.
Florida, and you're putting 400 on that game.
That's a big bet.
And Texas A&M plus 2.5 at Mississippi State.
Don't love it, but I'll take A&M plus 2.5 and 400.
For 100. The last game is Oregon at Arizona. Arizona plus 10.
Oregon for 100.
Danny?
All right, I've got mine all written down and out of order, but we're going Vandy first, minus 1.5. I'll bet the $1.6 billion that I won the lottery last night.
Level 5.
I'll bet $250 on each game. So I'll take Vanderbilt minus 1.5. Utah minus 10.5. I think they're a really good team. Fred, what was next? Arizona?
The next one was Florida, Georgia.
Florida, Georgia. When in doubt, take the points. I'll take Florida at 6.5.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. I love Texas A&M. 250. I'll take the 2.5
Love
points.
250. Love it. Go
250. What I don't need is you telling me how the numbers.
You know what? I'm going up.
That's what.
Oregon at Arizona plus 10.
And Oregon and Arizona. Oregon, a big loss last week. They're going to have a big letdown this week. I'm taking Arizona and the 10 points.
Okay.
For
We're out of time. No time for Fred's picks tonight. Go ahead, Fred.
All right. Fred takes Vandy, Utah, all of them for 250.
Yeah.
Vandy, Utah, UF, A&M, and Oregon.
Same as mine exactly. See, you see that? Look, you read it right for there. That's why he wanted to go first.
But he bet
Buddy,
250.
There you go.
Buddy, what you pick has nothing to do with what I pick.
Well, maybe you ought to start listening up.
Notice it's getting a little more tense as we
It
get
is.
close
You know
to the
why?
end of the
Because
season.
I'm going up and you guys are going down. Next week we'll come back at you again and tell you how this thing came out. I've already tell you.
Great show, guys.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of garbage. A lot of smack talk. It's fun, though. Fun to pick games, especially since this is mythical money. Let me just get this in real fast to a couple of my people I want to shout out to supporting us. I want to make sure we support them. They're people that we love very much, and I don't have that. So having said all that, I can't do it. But I wanted to just tell you about Tupperware, and I put it on the screen a while ago. And we want to make sure that if you need Tupperware, you need to go see Jen. And Tupperware, you saw her address, Tupperware Jen. We've got her information here somewhere. We'll get to it. And here's the deal about the Tupperware. First of all, if you've been around, you know this has always been something very useful to households. Tupperware is a great product and has been for a long time. There's a reason why it has been around for a long time, because it's useful. And so if you want kind of a new idea of some kind, where you can something for gifts or whatever, or just something for yourself, Tupperware makes a great gift. And you used to have to wait till people had Tupperware parties. Now you can actually go online to Tupperware Gin and go to jinlay.mycupware.com, and you can shop on our catalog right there, and you can find some of the things that you might want to have for the holidays, which is great. I showed earlier that dish that they have, which is great. Or you can find things that you want to send for Christmas. So you can always in this day and time with the amount of food that we try to prepare and we want to save and be thrifty and all that kind of stuff. Leftovers are a good thing as long as they're put away in the right way, and certainly that's important in terms of Tupperware. So if you don't know, go to Tupperware Jen on Facebook and check out her product. Okay, do that. And then just a quick shout out to my friends over at CD Farms. There we are back in the days we were tailgating. Tracy up there, she's the boss lady, and Chris DeCubulis, CD Farms, Florida. They do a terrific job on meat, pasture-fed beef and hogs. I've talked about it a lot. Should have some fall vegetables coming up here soon. Tracy's going to get back with me on this. Last year she had baskets that you could subscribe to, and so much a month, and you get all these fresh greens, great stuff. All, by the way, really well grown and tendered and taken care of, and those greens are very healthy for you. Farm to table, they're big on that. So go to CD Farms, Florida. Check them out if you will, and we'll give you more information about that. We hope at some point to have a party out there. We're still trying to do that, all right? Okay, that's going to wrap up the day for us here on the program. And we hope you enjoyed Football Friday. Certainly you're going to enjoy what's coming up because win, lose, or draw, this is the game we've been waiting for, folks, for a long time. A meaningful game with lots on the line. The Florida Gators playing football. It is going to be a joy to watch. No matter the outcome, and I think Florida will win the game, I've said that, no matter, we have been treated to quite a ride these first 7, now 8 weeks. I'll say have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. Be careful out there if you're going. We'll be in parking lot P if you can make your way over. And share this program with others and tell them about the podcast on the Buddy Barnes Show. Thanks to Chad Rich and others for their production work on this show.